You want answers?
I think I'm entitled.
You want answers?
I want the truth!
You can't handle the truth.
It's a very personal, very important thing. Hell, it's a family motto. Are you ready, Jerry?
I'm ready.
Just want to make sure you're ready, brother. Here it is. Show me the money.
Looking good, but I think I'm taking too long.
Yo!
Spot for a Glock. I took a loss over floss, but still got a knock.
Money! Jerry, does that make you feel good just to say that? Say it with me one time, Jerry.
Show you the money.
Oh, no, you can do better than that, Jerry. I want you to say it what you would mean it, brother. Hey, I got Bob Sugar on the other line. I better hear you say it.
No. Show you the money.
Not show you. Show me the money. Show me the money. Yeah. Louder.
Show me the money.
That's it, brother, but you got to yell that shit. Show me the money. I need to feel you, Jerry. Show me the money. Jerry, you better yell. Show me the money.
Hey, it's time to show you the money. This episode is going to make you millions. Of all the episodes I've done over the 8 years I've been doing the podcast, this topic is by far the most important. Most people would say, oh, no, Brian, getting the meeting's the most important part. But that's important. You have to have that meeting. But how many times let me just walk you through a story. Tell me if this sounds familiar. Okay, you get the meeting. You worked your butt off to get the meeting. The first meeting goes good. They're qualified. You get the second meeting. It's a demo. The demo goes great. They love it. They get it. They understand it. They get the vision. And how does that demo end? They ask for a proposal. And then you give them the proposal. You write it up. You make a conditional discount to get that first license or product in there. And, it's all crisp and clean. It gets approved by your manager. You send it in, and they say, thank you. Oh, this should go by. No problem. No, Brian, this is going to happen. No problem. And then you follow up in a week, and you're like, yep, it's working its way through the system. It's all going through. Yep. Another 2 weeks up. Yep. Okay, it's going to happen. The end of the quarter comes. The pricing expires. They don't ask for an updated quote. And guess what happens? It doesn't happen. This is our win rate. Let's call this our win rate. And I got a lot of requests for people to go like, Brian, why don't you do an episode on every stage of the sales process and kind of walk us through what we're doing right and what we're doing wrong and how we can do better. Now, you may say like, oh, I know what I should have done. I should have gone to the manager. I give the manager the proposal. Yeah, that would be better, right? But the manager's got different interests, different needs, different priorities that they don't really share with you. We talked about this a little bit on last week's podcast with Chad about the demo. Now, the demo is a critical element of the sales process. And make sure you go back and listen to that episode because I got an intense amount of feedback on that was so great. That was very helpful. That, it was based off of both life experience, anecdotal experience, and, the scientific research that I partner with going on. And, as part of that is the presentation. Now, I just partnered up with Prezi. Now, if you're still using PowerPoint, or what's the Mac one? Keynote. Yeah, I use Keynote. I used to use Keynote. Now I'm using Prezi. Prezi gives you a whole new view of making presentations. It gives you a landscape, a map, essentially, a place to play where you could build the story and take people through a journey back and forth from different angles and different vantage points instead of slide after slide after slide. And then you can, save it and share it with people and then get analytics about do they open it? How far do they get through it? How much time do they spend on it? Do they forward it to anybody? And I got your 14-day free trial of it to check it out with a bunch of templates and an ebook, all free. 2 weeks to play with it. Go to Prezi, prezi.com/brutaltruth. Sign up, get 2 weeks, try it out, see if you like it, see if it matches. If you don't want to spend that amount of time on, go on YouTube and see the difference. It's amazing, especially if in sales, we need a cleaner way because then it becomes a story. It becomes an interactive discussion instead of slide next. Because in sales, the highest death rate is death by PowerPoint. It's killing us. The second highest death rate is from happy ears. Happy ears is what gets us stuck at this stage of the sales process. Okay, we've had a great demo. Now what do? Now, I want to tell you another story. I was listening to this presentation from this VP of sales that I had talked to, and he goes, Brian, we don't need you. We're a high velocity sales organization. I go, well, what's that mean to you? Well, our cost is so low that we just want to do demo, proposal, close. I go, that's what you want to do, right? But the thing is, nobody cares what you want to do. Nobody cares. All that matters is what your customer will do. And guess what? They're not conditioned to do that. Anytime someone's making, a new purchase. Now, if it's a repeat purchase, it might be a whole lot simpler. They need additional product from you, and that's already been budgeted and approved, and they already got you in the system. That's different. What I'm talking about is like a new customer. And this is what we want. We want new customers, new logos, expand our territory so we can get the repeat business, which is a whole lot easier than getting that new business. But what happens is that the customer doesn't like to change. It's not natural. The natural progression for a customer is to say the same, do more of the same. And that's what they do. And that's what they're really good at. And that's what they stick with. Now, what do we have to do as salespeople? We have to get them to change. And a change is hard. Think about it, a change for you. Let's take an example of you going to buy a house, the biggest purchase you're going to make. Now, you go, what's the demo for the house? It's like the visit, the walkthrough, the tour. Let's say you take a tour. All of a sudden you get connected. Oh, it's the right school district. It's a walking distance from a park. Your doggie's going to love it. You got a little man cave, you got the sewing room, you got all these little things that you want. Oh, a little showcase for my shoes. I'm really happy. Nice refrigerator. Everything's going good. But, it's a little at the high end of your price range, but you're not telling the realtor that. The realtor's getting happy. Oh, yeah, you want to make an offer. And it's like, oh, yeah. Okay. Well, then, you have some parameters, right? You only have so much money to put down. You have only so much credit to get based off your income or whatever you're getting approved, your credit rating, all of that. It all comes down to, can you afford it and does it make sense for you? Now, you're not and this is even a simple sale, essentially. It's complex because maybe it's a couple or a family and there's more than one vote in that decision. But you're not exposing your true feelings to that realtor, are you? No, you're keeping a couple of cards hidden about what's really going on. Now, that realtor, the salesperson in this case, is going through with happy ears thinking what's best for them. That's what we're doing when people ask us for a proposal. Now, once we give that proposal, what else does the customer need from us? What do they need? Nothing. Well, maybe something, but if you don't, convince them of that need, they're not going to call you back. And they're not going to call you back for a couple reasons. One, you're kind of hounding them. They don't have good news for you, and nobody likes giving bad news. Because the bad news is that they probably went to their manager, or even that manager went to the vice president or the CEO or the CFO, and they have to do some additional justification, comparison, contrast to other alternatives, reallocation of budget, all of these other things that we didn't know about, like the credit report in the house case, like the down payment in the house case, like the prioritization of, that house versus other houses. All of a sudden, we got happy ears. We got it on the forecast. Our manager's hounding us about it, but we don't know where it is. This is happy ears. This is the mystery middle of the sales process. This is where good deals go to die. And this is where we get stuck. This is actually the most important part of the complex sale, because your win rate goes down because you don't understand what's going on there. Now, you can say, I understand. It's like, do you? But I'm telling you, this vice president, basically what he ended up saying in this presentation, now a year and a half after I talked to him, was that what we found was the deals where we did a proof of concept, which was something to do after the demo, something to keep direction, momentum, and control and involvement with the prospect going, that those deals closed 93% of the time. Now, the deals where we just sent a proposal closed less than 20% 20% at the time. Now, the 80-20 rule kind of fits here. So this is what I was trying to convince him of a year and a half ago, was that that model isn't going to work with new business. It's going to work with repeat business because you've already established the need. They want additional product, and it's a matter of timing for them. You can accelerate the timing through discounts and offers and packaging and concessions. But with new customers, it's a change. The proof of concept was the way of keeping involved. Now, contrast it to the realtor and buying that house. That realtor doesn't know the real thing. What that realtor should do is, let's sit down and let's go to lunch or dinner or cocktails and let's talk it over. So, and understand, where does this fit as far as your down payment, your credit rating, your ability to borrow, and your timing. The elements of that decision, and how does it compare against the other houses. That's what the realtor really needs to do, because they may not be representing the other houses. So if you're just thinking it's going to happen, it might. It might. And obviously it has in the past. But to increase your win rate, to really accelerate your ability as a salesperson, your success. This is $1 million episode, I'm telling you, is to break down what you can do after that demo. And the worst thing you can do is give a proposal. Why? Because now you skipped or assumed that that it's just going to happen. You need to have the third date, the fourth date, the fifth date, the meetings with them to understand their process and help them through, to build a business justification. Now, do you hide the pricing? No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, don't give them something that basically they don't need you anymore. That's what I'm saying. When I say proposal, that's what I mean. Now, a business justification where you put the magic word is draft. In everything. Anything that has any pricing, any terms, any conditions, always put draft. Why? Because no procurement person is going to accept it. Because it's going to say, this is draft. I can't write a purchase request based off a draft. I need a best and final. I need a committed one, something that I sign, something that's legally binding. If you put the word draft, they always have to come back to you. It's the leaving the gloves at someone's place, or with George Costanza, he left that Russian hat at that lady's apartment as a way because he wanted to get the second date with her, right? Because once you leave that there's a reason to get back in touch. There's momentum and there's some control. But you have to understand that deal is going to most likely die. 80% of the time, it's going to die. How do you get it to inverse, where you get 80% is going to win, is you got to stay involved. Okay, let's say they ask for pricing. You say, happy to do that. Let's start a business justification. Have a little template, even if it's one page, saying that, okay, this is the problem that you have. This is the solution that we're providing. These are the alternatives that we viewed. This is the validation that we went through. It shows that you actually did something. And literally, if you can't write this up in a half hour to an hour, something's wrong. Just go on Google, and please, we all learn how to use Google and quit asking me to Google stuff for you. Just go on to Google and say business justification template, okay? Then edit it down to the bare minimum or whatever makes sense for you, and start using this and put the magic word on it, draft, and put it into their logo like they wrote it, okay? Because then procurement's always going to ask for a proposal, and you want that. That's when you give the final one with the expiration date and everything. That way it makes it seem like it's legitimate, and that you also have them coming to you. Now, this is a way of keeping the ball rolling. Now, in this case of this company, this VP of sales, that proof of concept, that was really taking the demo and kind of getting that technical sale. Because you really don't have the technical sale until somebody's saying, we cannot live without this. That is the technical sale. And there's no other alternative but this product. Because when I hear people say, oh, everything looks the same, everything looks the same until you see the difference. Okay, we all bought cars for some reason. We bought clothes, computers, phones, all this stuff because there was a difference. Now, it might have been just for price for you, but rarely houses, its location and size and build out. There's some reason. And at first, they all look the same, right? Look at a condo building. They all look the same, right? Except for, they don't all have the same view. They don't have the same finish. Very quickly, a realtor can lock out every other alternative but this one. And this is our job, is to get customers focused on what is important. And this is what we have to do. Do not just send a proposal, because this is what 99% of the people do, and this is where deals die. And then you guys ask me, they're not getting back to me. What do I do, Brian? Well, now you're asking me to repair a deal. This is 100% prevention. Now, if you can prevent this is where you're going to crush it. And that's why I'm giving you this in October. I'm recording this at the end of October so that you can go out and crush Q4, because I'm sure you're starting to send proposals out right now. Okay, don't do that. Just don't do that. Make sure you're first sending it to the right person. Call it a business justification, because it gets it away from a cost and moves it more to an outcome that they want. And it describes the outcome that they want. Of course, there's a cost associated. There's a cost associated with everything. But it gets the focus on what you want. And if they insist, just say use it as a way to get up in the organization, especially if it's a reasonably high dollar amount. If it's like over $50K, that person, if you're selling to an end user, has no budget authority whatsoever. Their manager might have $5 or $10K where they can spend without getting their manager's approval. That VP of even a large company can't spend more than $25K. I'm telling you, I've spent my life selling enterprise stuff, and you're shocked at how high you have to go to get even a $50K deal approved if you really understood what's going on internally at the company. Now, if you want to understand that, I've got a little Kindle book on Amazon called How Large Companies Make Purchase Decisions. Just search my name, Brian Burns, or search that title. It'll come right up. It's like $2.99. It's like, 20 pages. It'll tell you exactly how companies make purchase decisions. Now, you can rely on, let's say you have some maverick, some real challenger in there, some real fox who's going to get things done, and champion. That person can get it done, right? But they typically need some guidance on how companies make purchasing decisions, what the administrative process is. Now, if you just Hail Mary a proposal in, it's like, a realtor just giving you the contract and to say, you write in the number, and what happens is you lowball it, and, and the realtor's like, well, they'll never accept that. They're looking at, maybe 10% below asking. That's the kind of thing we got to understand, is how these deals get done, because we basically have the blind leading the blind in B2B sales, where and you say, well, I've been doing this for 20 years. That VP, he's been doing it for 30 years. He didn't understand what goes on at this step, because he was used to selling stuff into existing customers where he didn't have this problem. And this problem in selling into new business, this is where the gold is. This is where our future is. We have to understand it. So let me break this down into like 3 or 4 steps here. First is assume that it's going to stall. That is the natural course. It's not the natural course for the deal to happen. In new business, the natural course is for no decision, for the deal to be stalled, and for nothing to happen. So you got to assume that's going to happen. So get rid of happy ears. Don't get sad ears. Get realistic ears. That is the thing. So how do I continuously keep it from stalling? It's by having a next step, by having something to do that they have value from, that they want, that you have, which is partly the pricing, partly discounting, partly concessions, partly packaging it up for them, and know the steps. So you have to understand how companies buy from an administrative standpoint. Go talk to somebody in accounting and ask them, how do we buy? Now, or go to somebody in your procurement department and say, like, what do you typically get or have to get in place before you make a decent sized purchase, like a 50 or 100, whatever you're selling, whatever amount that is. And they'll tell you, well, I need a purchase request. It has to be signed up to this level. They have to allocate the budget from some place, so I have to know who's going to pay for it. I have to have them in the system, so I have to have them checked out, them validated, all their tax ID information put into this system. And then I can issue a purchase order that gets signed by my boss over here. Once you understand that, that's what your customers need to do. Now, then you wait a second. They have to do all that? I didn't know that. I didn't see that because you don't participate in that. You got to see that. You got to understand those administrative steps so that you can guide your prospect through those steps, but they don't know it. You think they do. You'll say, like, well, how have you bought before? And they go, I don't know. I didn't buy before. Or it was 2 years ago, or it was small, or it was a repeat thing, or, it was here before I got here. Or, Joe knows over here, or Sally knows over there. Trust me, they don't know. They don't know. Okay, so number 2 is know the steps. Number 3 is have something to give that they want. Okay, quid pro quo. It's your most powerful sales tool you have. If you give it all up front, you've got nothing left to give. And everybody does this. They want it all up front. They go, let's give them everything. Let's go. Let's give them all. Okay, here's the demo. Here's a proposal. Look how fast I got it to you. like they're going to take it and put it underneath their arm and run down to procurement. That's not how it happens. They look at it and they're like, oh God, now I got what I'm going to do. This is what they do. They forward it to their boss. They go, hey, this would be a great thing to get. And the boss goes, yeah, sure. Okay, thanks. Next. Right? That's where deals, that's called no decision in most people's mind. Number 4 is always have a why. Why are we going to do the next thing? Why now? Why you? And why by the end of the quarter? See, the end of the quarter is our why, not their why. We've got to get to their why. Now, I hope this has been successful or helpful for you. I outline this in the Maverick Selling Method in gory detail of how to map this out. Now, you need to put this into some system. Pipedrive's a great system. And I get the question, you're like, how about if my pipeline has got too many elements? Of course, then just make more pipelines. Make a pipeline for people that are in the technical sale, in the business sale. Maybe have a whole one just for prospecting, where you're just nurturing a bunch of target accounts when you take them through certain stages. That whatever works for you is to visualize it so you know where everything is and you have a way of getting it moving forward. Don't be that blind rep who just assumes it's going to happen, that the hounding and the following up and sticking with that one person get to many different people. Now, I give the Maverick Selling Method away. All I ask for in return is posting a review on iTunes. And if you say, oh, I already gave you a review, put one for the B2B Revenue Leadership Show or the Sales Questions Podcast. I'll take either one of those. I will. And just take a little picture of it, email it to briangburns@me.com. Don't send it to me on LinkedIn. Send it to me on my email so I can take care of it easily. And I get a lot of questions. Now, if you send me questions, make sure the ones that I can put on the Sales Questions Podcast. I've really been traveling a lot. I really have very little time to get back to on a lot of the questions. Make sure you're checking out the YouTube channel, Maverick Method on YouTube. I outline this stuff, great detail. Check out the show notes for all the great deals that I'm getting you with all our partners. And make sure you're checking out all the partners. Check out Prezi.com. And if you're going to Sales or Dreamforce, they've got a huge booth there and they've opened up their office. So make sure you stop by and say hello and tell them that you heard them all about it from the Brutal Truth About Sales and Selling podcast. Really appreciate you listening. Connect up with me on LinkedIn. Please, if you're on LinkedIn and you see my stuff, give it a like, give it a comment, give it a share. I really appreciate it. Show me that you really have listened to the podcast. You're getting something out of it. And don't listen to this in the car. This is one you have to take the notes down. You really have to assume that it's going to stall. Don't assume it's going to go through free, no resistance. Assume it's going to stall. How do I prevent it from stalling? How do I keep it moving? How do I put in more steps, more reasons to communicate, not follow up, to communicate. Communicating is sharing information, not asking for information. It's giving and taking information. Make sure you still have something to give. Hold back something. Piecemeal it out, because and assume from the time they say, yes, we want it, to the time they actually issue the purchase orders, probably 30 to 45 days. What reason are you going to have to stay in touch with them? What can you give them? Don't be thinking that, oh, they'll love to talk with me. Oh, I'll just stop by for lunch. That can work, but what if they're not hungry? What if they're busy? We're getting into the crunch time of the end of the year. We have to have control over this. I hope this has been helpful. Please let me know. I've got some great stuff coming up this week. I got a great episode coming out on Tuesday afternoon. You'll probably see it Tuesday afternoon or Wednesday. If you don't subscribe, it takes a little bit longer for iTunes to get it to you. So make sure you subscribe to the podcast. And if you give me a review, I'll get you the book so that you can read it. It's a full PDF format of the book. It's the whole book. Nothing's cut out of it. Also, if you just want it on Audible, you can get Audible for free in the show notes, audible.com/brutaltruth, and you get it for free there as well. Check it out. You can listen to it in the car. That you can listen to in the car. I'll let you go with that. Thanks for listening.
I want to know the truth, because deep down in places that you don't talk about are team and management meetings. You want me on that call. You need me on that call. We use words like fleet view, volume control, total cost of ownership. We use these words as a backbone of a life spent negotiating something. You use them as a punchline. I have neither the time nor inclination to explain myself to people who rise and sleep under the very blanket of revenue that I provide and then question the manner in which I provide it. I would rather you just said thank you and went on your way. Otherwise, may I suggest you pick up a phone and make some sales calls. Either way, I don't give a damn what you think you're entitled to.
Did you expense the lap dances?
I did the job I was hired.
Did you expense the lap dances?
You're goddamn right I did!